welcome to the Muslim Viewpoint, a new video podcast series powered by the nonprofit national media platform American Muslim Today. I'm your host, Maya Gaylor, and today we are continuing our Get Out the Vote series. Earlier, we spoke to Ken Mitchell, who is running for election as the Democratic candidate to represent Virginia's 6th Congressional District against incumbent Benjamin Lee Klein.
Okay, I'm Ken Mitchell, and I'm running for Virginia's 6th Congressional District. That is the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia. Little bio on me. I'm a veteran. I served 24 years in the military. The last 6 years of that service was in the White House, and I served both under a Republican and a Democratic administration, Herbert Walker Bush and Bill Clinton. After retiring from the military, I went to work in the private sector in corporate America, building out broadband services. I started my own business in historic renovations and restorations. I worked in a nonprofit, Thomas Jefferson Foundation Monticello, modernizing their infrastructure. And the last job I had was in a civil engineering firm where I was a vice president and oversaw water and wastewater projects throughout Virginia's 6th Congressional District. I'm the proud father of 2 daughters and 5 grandchildren. I live with my fiance on a farm here in Virginia, a small farm in Rockingham County, and I'm looking to run for office to help improve the lives of the people of the 6th Congressional District. I entered into this because of some of the egregious policies of the Trump administration, the Muslim ban that he invoked, his handling of COVID and the administration's handling of that, the insurrection on 1/6, and the ineptness of the 118th Congress, which has been the most unproductive Congress in U.S. history. So those are kind of the reasons I entered into the race.
Right, and thank you for sharing that with us. So, as you can tell, we are American Muslim Today, so we serve our Muslim audience, but of course, all people, all minorities. So can you kind of just tell us about how you have personally reached out to the minority communities in your district?
Very good question, and let me say that I'm very pleased to be on your show today. I've reached out in several different ways. We have had a multiple of candidates running in the 6th district for a variety of different offices, city council, boards of supervisors, and a lot of local races that we have here. I've reached out to the Muslim community here in Harrisonburg. We have a very large population of Muslim residents here, and I've reached out to their community leaders and engaging in dialogue on how that may, how issues impact the Muslim community here. When the Muslim ban in 2017, travel ban was introduced, Harrisonburg, Virginia was the 9th impacted city throughout the entire nation. And so I think that speaks to the volume that we have here. I've reached out to the African American community through many of the festivals that they've held, Juneteenth and African American festivals that have been thrown throughout the region that we've had. I've reached out to the Hispanic community, again, through many of the festivals and things, and find that, the commonality here is the community services that the communities of Muslim, Hispanic, and African American communities are involved in. So it's been through a lot of the local community efforts that I've reached out.
Right, and then as you've touched on the Muslim ban, and then kind of broader, we can bring in the issue of immigration. It's being used as kind of a hot button item, especially in this election cycle. And, Texas, this is where we're based. We're based in Texas, so we hear a lot of kind of maybe scare tactics when it comes to the quote border crisis. So can you kind of just maybe tell us your position, your stance, maybe some policies you have in mind to implement when it comes to people coming in the southern border, also people who are already here and have been here and are just seeking citizenship or asylum?
Right. Excellent question. I think that we have made, we the far right has tried to use the southern border as a policy, as an issue they want to run on, and they've invoked scare tactics and minimizing people there. I believe in a strong southern border, but I also believe that there is a way to treat those folks escaping from danger and climate issues in a humane and just manner. And I don't think the rhetoric that the far right is producing and having deportations and things of that nature serve us well. When you look at a bipartisan congressional budget office, they predict that the migrants coming across from the border will produce about $7 trillion of economics to our GDP. And I think there is a way that we can fairly and justly integrate them into our society with dignity and respect. And I lean into the immigration issue in that way. We have a tremendous need for immigrants up here in the 6th Congressional District, and many different jobs that are available here. And many of the employers that I talk to, small businesses throughout our Congressional 6th District, tell me that we need to get the H-2A visa situation expedited, and for it not to be such a lengthy process. That also applies to DACA and TPS folks that have been living in our country for 20 years, paying taxes, own business, have houses, but they have no clear pathway to citizenship. And we need to make sure that we reform our immigration policies to where there is a clear path to citizenship, and it is not such a lengthy process to do.
Right, and then kind of just branching off of that just a little bit. I'm sure you tuned in to the Trump-Harris debate and heard
Yes.
the unfortunate rumors that both Trump and his VP-elect J.D. Vance spread about Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio.
Right.
Can you kind of just tell us your thoughts on that situation and kind of maybe his pattern of doing this, amplifying these kind of rumors and lies?
Right. Well, if you go back and you understand that a bipartisan legislation for shore up our border, they rejected and said we are going to make immigration an issue, our issue that we run on. If you say number one, that is the platform that they are looking to run on. When you look at Springfield, Ohio, that is simply the expansion of them wanting to run on fear and hatred. And the atrocities that they're claiming there are just absolutely egregious. And it speaks to a platform where Trump and Vance have no legitimate platform that they're standing on. They want more of the same, gaslighting the American people and putting these divisive sorts of issues in front of the American people. It's red meat to their MAGA base, but the middle of our nation stands in defiance of what they are trying to say there.
And then just kind of moving on to more voter issues, when it comes to women's rights, this is also another big issue for a lot of Americans, especially living in a time after Roe v. Wade has been overturned. In your opinion, do you think that women's healthcare laws, abortion rights should be codified, or do you think it should be kind of how it is now, more left up to the states?
I think it should be codified, and I think any health care that is left up to the state does not, it makes it difficult for a family, for example, in one state that has a health law that supports pro-choice, but they have to move to a state that does not have pro-choice. I think it puts an undue burden on families, and it puts an undue burden on the rights of American women. And I am all for it to be codified and within our Constitution, that women's rights are protected.
Yeah, and so moving on to more global issues, but an issue that has become local, and that is the Israel-Palestine conflict. As you might know, pretty much almost, I think probably all 50 states at this point have held protest in some form of the Biden administration's support for Israel's military action. And this has kind of become an issue when it comes to, I mean, now we're in our voting, right? This is a voting year, presidential election year. And Trump is kind of very much, in support of Benjamin Netanyahu. Kamala has been a little bit on both sides about supporting a ceasefire, delaying military aid to Israel. So can you kind of just tell us maybe your thoughts on the situation at hand? What do you think about Americans using their voice to protest for this international issue? And not just that, but, our administration's support for these mass killings as well.
Right, right. I think any sovereign nation has a right to defend itself. And what a militant group Hamas did on that day was egregious. There's simply no way to say that. However, the conduct of Israel against the Palestinian people in name of Hamas, I do not support. And I think the U.S. support of any offensive weapon going to Israel to continue the terror that is going on there. I feel that an immediate ceasefire needs to be attained, hostage release needs to occur, and that there will be no peaceful way forward until that ceasefire, immediate ceasefire, and until hostage negotiation and release are performed. There's no way that we can move forward without that happening. I do believe in a two-state solution, but I do think that we have not given, in my humble opinion, enough of that two-state solution to the Palestinian people. They still seem to be held back, in my humble opinion. And I think the majority of America in the middle fully supports that we do not continue with any of Israel, Netanyahu's pursuit of what he's attempting to do there, and that we should have an immediate ceasefire and hostage release, and then we can get to the table for peaceful negotiation.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Mitchell. That's all the questions I have for you today. Just thank you for joining us.